sponsors, or advertisers.
Hi everybody, how are you guys doing today? This is Cynthia Hale with Guidance to a Good Heart. This is such a good show today because we are talking about human trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and I know you guys are seeing me here today. Loneliness, but but it's okay. Even though it's a lonely day today, I still have her here. She is coming in from a Zoom. You know, hi, Evangelist. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon.
Evangelist, how are you doing today? I miss you. I miss
you too. I'm doing much better today. I'm on the mend, but I'll be there in my seat next show.
I know. You know, even though you're not here, I do miss you. I miss you. And, you know, it's okay that you're not here. You know. I'm okay.
We will make it. We will make it.
We will definitely make it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you not being here. But you know what? We're going to have a good show today, I think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, this is a very hot topic. Not only hot topic, but it's a dangerous topic because we know how human trafficking and sex trafficking, even labor trafficking, is happening around here in our area, Maryland, in D.C. You know, the DMV area is kind of hot around with that, you know, human trafficking area. We know that it's happening here. We know that there are a lot of like 2,000 suspicious businesses around here are, you know, happening with human trafficking. We know that about 6,000 potential traffickers in this area. We have, you know, a lot of, I think it's like 10,949, you know, issues of potential, you know, human trafficking cases, I think in like 2017. And so, guys, do not forget to call in 1-855-493-6499. And so don't forget to also look us up at www.mixstation.com, Guidance to a Good Heart. So let's go ahead and start this off, guys. We have two amazing speakers today that are here. And so I'm excited to be able to introduce both of them. I'm going to let you, Pastor Evangelist Patricia Fowler, go ahead and introduce our very first one. So go ahead and do that.
Okay. And so today we have our first guest, or one of our guests is speaker and life coach, Michelle Jewsbury. Recognized as a valuable resource in the speaking industry, Michelle Jewsbury is the go-to professional speaker who uses her story of survival as encouragement and motivation for others. A speaker and international author, you will want to get Michelle's book, But I Love Him, on Amazon.com. By using relative techniques in her presentation, Michelle creates aha moments that lead to transformation. Attendees leave inspired, revitalized, and ready to pursue their journey with renewed focus. With a confident yet calming approach, Michelle's story makes a lasting impression on the audience and gives them the power to take their lives back. If you will welcome me, one of our guests, Michelle Jewsbury.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very honored to be part of this radio broadcast. It's such an important topic, human trafficking, domestic violence. It's all very much intertwined together. So thank you very, very much.
And I am super excited to not only introduce our second guest, which she is not only a GGA National Conference speaker with the Global Goodwill Ambassadors, but she is also a minister, a pastor with Agape Love Ministries. She's also a certified therapist. She is a counselor, a speaker for domestic violence. She also is a national known therapist. She speaks for not only children, but human trafficking victims. She is a well-known podcaster, and not only does she do this for children, but she does this for well-known speakers all across the nation, nationally, globally, and not only can I speak for, she advocates nationally for mental health counseling. For about 10 years, she's been doing this clinically for Pensacola, Florida. But she helps out people in a therapeutic way, in a Christian loving nature. And I can't speak enough about Pastor Deborah. And not only that, I have spoken to this wonderful woman for hours. And I love her so much. She speaks into my spirit. And so thank you so much for being here, Pastor Deborah. I love you so much. I can't thank you enough. I wish I could reach over and just give you a large, loving hug. I mean, it's like, yes, if we could just be closer to you. But thank you so much for being here, for your love and for your attention. And so, ladies, I just want to start off by, one specific quote that Pastor Deborah had said. She said in agapeloveishere.org, she said, what kind of human heart, just this for human trafficking, she said, what kind of human heart is this that could and would do this to another human, to a baby, to a child, to a teen, to a woman, to a man? This is just a business for them. It's just a business. I mean, let's just start off by saying that, period, right? What kind of a person, this is just a business for these people, right? And I mean, really, it's just a business. I know that spanning all across the world, we know that children are utilized. So let's start off with that. Tell us, really, I know with you, Michelle, tell us the things that you have seen, not only in Ghana and you've seen in Sierra Leone, that affect the lives of children that you have seen that are affected by sex and labor trafficking,
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So if your audience doesn't know a bit about me, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I'm CEO and founder of a nonprofit organization called Unsilenced Voices, where we work in Ghana and Sierra Leone and just expanded to Rwanda this month, which is great because we're expanding in the pandemic.
That's awesome.
And then we're also fiscal sponsors for two organizations, one in Nepal, the other one in the Netherlands. And we're expanding to the U.S. as soon as the world opens back up so we can do a live event.
Wow.
But in regards to human trafficking, one of our partners in the United States is the Child Liberation Foundation. And that organization is an amazing group of individuals that actually travel to these foreign countries and buy back these kids and really try to reintegrate them back into society. But according to the CLF's website, there are 18 million children worldwide that are trafficked. And the one thing that we need to be fully aware of is the number one consumer of human trafficking worldwide are white American men. consumer, you guys, not the ones selling, but the consumers.
Right.
So in order to stop this epidemic, we really need to inhibit the Johns, so the supply and demand cuts out.
Yeah. And I think me and Evangelist were talking on the way here, right, Evangelist?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think she was making, Evangelist and I were discussing about that same issue, right, Evangelist?
Right. In India, India is the number one country where it's prevalent at right now. I mean, more than half the country is being human trafficked, sex trafficked, slave trafficked. They have the highest rape crimes there in India. It's just terrible. It's terrible.
I was fortunate enough, and I've been to Hyderabad, India, and I was doing work with an organization called Back to Back, and I experienced firsthand the discrimination to women, especially young girls, and they, a lot of the men over there just disregard us, that we are just put on this planet to procreate. So I do see that India could be the number one country right now for human trafficking, which is so incredibly sad. And the problem over there as well is that serfdom still exists, the caste system. So when these kids are born into slavery and then their parents sell them to a lord, then that's the beginning stages of this cyclical injustice that happens worldwide, where then these kids are forced into sex and labor. And then our organization in Nepal actually buys these children back at over 600 euros per head in order to get them off the streets.
Wow.
And it's also said that the kids, because they are started so young, that they get the mindset of, you keep it hush, you don't say anything about it. This is just what we do. So to them, they see it as being normal for a young kid to be having sex with multiple people and things like that. And that is not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. And Pastor Deborah, let me ask you a question. Because the kids are utilized in such a, young age like that, potentially, what is not so much the diagnoses, but potentially what is the harm that could cause a child that potentially so young, in that age range, that it could harm that child, especially if it's so young in that age, how can that, can it harm that child, whether it be anxiety, depression, what it can do to that child?
Okay, good question. Coming from the mental health world, which I understood mental health problems as biological disease. When you have human trafficking, sex trafficking, domestic violence with children, number one, biological changes happen in the brain. And a lot of that's due to head concussions, due to all the cortisol, the adrenaline, the dopamine, the flight or fight, adrenaline going off all the time. Memory is affected, so you have a biological damage to a young child. The brain will not grow as it was intended to. In the soul part, or the mental health part, you have a lot of distortion and abuse, and what they never even really discovered, even though they know somewhere, I'm supposed to be loved, I'm supposed to be protected. And when that doesn't happen, they feel right from get-go rejection, hopelessness. So you're dealing with a soul, or the part where mental health counselors deal with, all the emotional things, which could be anything from, like we'll say, with post-traumatic stress, you could be at the low end, or you could go through flashbacks all the way to dissociative identity disorder. Then spiritually, you have issues as far as going into trances, out of body experiences, fragmenting oneself, and the spirit then looks at love or acceptance in a very distorted way. Yeah. And it will believe whatever God the culture has, that it's not a loving God. Right. And if you throw in the abuse from a pastor or a rabbi or something, and they sanction this, which in a lot of things they do, even in genital mutilization, it's so that there'll be no pleasure in sex, and you can have all three areas affected, all three permanently damaged, lack of growth, understanding. And so when you're helping them to heal, you need people involved that know the medical things. Yeah. If there's been hits to the head, you could have head concussions. If there's been improper diet, you could have just lack of growth. And you could also, if there's drugs and alcohol, the body's addicted to that, they're zoning out. Then you need a person that understands all the mental and emotional part that has been twisted, perverted. What was supposed to be love turned out not to be love. And, of course, the abusive words and living in fear. So that all has to be dealt with. Wow. So I always look at it. We got three parts. We need lots of people involved that are experts in each area to help them. And you sort of working at all areas at the same time, and everybody's doing their expertise in their area that they're good and qualified at. So even if you had a teenager, the brain we know is not fully developed yet. Their awareness is not fully developed. A lot of their values and concepts are developing. In childhood, you have a lot of hand-eye coordination, a lot of basic skills. What you'll run into in a lot of children grown up is you'll have bladder problems, anus problems, yes. You'll have mouth diseases, there's AIDS, there's sexual diseases that come in, stomach problems, yes. Rashes. The diet is poor, you're going to run into that. That's all biological. So you need the doctors involved doing good nutrition. Yes. If they've lived, and then the mental, we need like Michelle and Patricia and you guys coming in at that level. Yeah. And usually it's going to be probably a long time of recovery and healing. And remember, the traffickers are always there. They're waiting for you to give up, quit, run out of money. And you put them in a program for 9 months and you're done. Yeah. They're out there waiting for them. They're in it for the long haul. They're in it for the lifetime of that person. We're a lot of loving therapists and healers that we get frustrated, we get tired, we run out of help, and we stop. Yeah. And so then spiritually, there's a lot of that component, dealing with God and loving God, know God. Yeah. I prayed and he didn't come, and that has to be dealt with from those people. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, please do not forget to call 1-855-493-6499. And this goes into my next question. It's something that I read just recently that totally opened up my eyes about the growing problem that we continue to have in the United States. And it put things into like total perspective for me. And it's real mind-blowing because I'm real big. I'm really huge into statistics. I mean, Evangelist knows this because I'm real big into numbers. This is my thing. My thing is, if we have a growing problem, give it to me in facts, give it to me in numbers so that I can see the growing problem. You know, because sometimes we see things, but we see things in like, okay, I want to know what is the growing problem that we have in society, and I want to know what's going on, right? And so here's the numbers, you know, so that people can also see, because I'm sure everybody's in Facebook going, is it really a problem? Yeah. So let's really put it down to nitty gritty, right? So in Maryland, there has been reported cases of COVID-19 deaths, about 3,685 deaths, right? But there's been reported cases of heroin deaths per year in Maryland, about 2,087 opiates and methadone, right? And on average, there's been 13,500 children that go missing and reported per year. Mm-hmm. Now, here's where, do you see the scales and how they kind of unbalance and tip? And that kind of puts it in perspective, right, ladies? It puts it in perspective how 3,685 COVID deaths, 2,087 heroin deaths, and then 13,500 children go missing. But then we do nothing. This is where things go kind of, right, Evangelist?
But part of the thing is, when you don't have somebody like yourself, myself, Michelle, and Pastor Deborah coming here to talk about it, to put the information out there, to share the statistics, right? People have no idea. People have no idea. I watched the YouTube video that Pastor Deborah sent, that you sent me, Cynthia, and just listening to Rick Jordan speak about the trafficking that's going on in New Orleans, the under tunnels and all those things. People, I've never heard of anything like that. Never. Right. So it's like, if we don't put it out there, people aren't going to hear about it. Right. Yes, you might hear about somebody died in a car accident, or, somebody died from COVID. We still, we're not prompting that, but at the same time, we need to hear about these kids that are missing, that are being used as adults when they're 5 and 7 years old and should have no idea about sex or any of those things. Sure. We have to put it out there. If it's just for people, for women, advocating for a cause, we have to continue to speak until other people pick it up and do the same thing.
Yeah, people don't know what they don't know. So it's so important. So the audience, everybody who's listening right now, if you know about human trafficking, if you know about domestic violence and a lot of these horrors that a lot of primarily women, but of course men and young boys as well are facing, speak up, because that is so important. In order to educate, we have to talk about it. And it's so crazy, Cynthia, like you were saying, 13,500 kids go missing in Maryland per year. And that's not statistics in the whole U.S. I know that there's over 200,000 kids in the United States that are being trafficked right now. That's our own backyard.
Right. And that's only that's our state. That's just one state. And that's not to say the whole, because me and Pastor Deborah, we see things in the UN too, because we're part of different discussions within the UN as part of SDGs, right, Pastor Deborah? So we see things in different scales, and we know that, and you as well, Michelle, probably see that in different nations, this fuels the nation. They protect a lot of these human traffickers. They know that it fuels their nation. Not only that, it fuels like maybe the whole, and here too, it protects a lot of these human traffickers, whether it be motels, hotels, whether it be whatever they do, it protects them because a lot of these hotels are being paid off. They're being paid off. We know that it happens to a lot of gas stations too. It happens there. It also happens, which I have it written down here, that the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children said 10,000 prostitutes were brought to the Miami for the 2010 Super Bowl and 2014 FIFA World Cup. That's 10,000 children prostitute. It wasn't adult prostitute. It was children prostitute. This is by the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. That's 10,000. That's one child too many.
Right. But when you keep things hush-hush,
right,
it's the same way as here in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C., where you may have a child being raped, a child being sexually assaulted by a family member,
right,
incest going on, and people keep it hush-hush. They don't say nothing about it. They tell the child, if you tell, I'm going to kill your mommy or daddy. That the same thing is happening with the human and sex trafficking. They're made to keep it quiet.
Right.
But those of us who know about it, we have to speak out, because it could be us, it could be our children, our sons and daughters as well. We have to continue to speak out whatever we know about it, because education is key. And the more we speak about it, whether people get tired of hearing about it, they're going to start checking into it. Why are they always talking about this? Why are they always saying this is happening? Because it's happening.
Yeah, well, the more we speak up about it, the faster we can stop this epidemic. And like Pastor Deborah said, it's very hard for these kids then to transition into adulthood after being severely abused and used, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of mental and emotional defects and disorders that a lot of these kids then grow up with once they're finally rescued from human trafficking. So in order to stop all this, we really have to stop it in its tracks and stop all these Johns wanting to go and purchase kids. I mean, if you are going to the streets and if you're purchasing a sex worker, a prostitute, I don't like saying that word, they're most likely being forced to do that.
Definitely.
That's something that most people don't understand, is that most of those kids and young adults out there are being forced to have sex.
Yeah.
Even though you think that they like it.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're made to understand that they should like it, because the adult that's putting them out there is benefiting from it. So they may, and that's what people may not get, that you see this child 7 years old out there having sex. They don't know what they're doing, but they're made to do it. Kids are taught how to do things, and when they're taught to do it, they're not getting the understanding that this is not right and you should not like it. They're being told you need to like it and you need to do this.
Right. So here's a great question. What do we feel we can do to lead more strategic planning that will help vulnerable communities gain resources and maybe skills to do advocacy against more issues of human sex, labor, and human trafficking, and maybe disparity communities or even any communities? Because we've noticed that a lot of children that are maybe taken are in more disparate communities, and the higher numbers are within Black, brown, and other Latino communities. And so what can we do as a strategic planning and resources that we as advocates can do to maybe spread awareness? What can we do, whether it be legislatively, judicially? What can we do?
Well, I truly believe that education is the key. So being able to come in and sensitize different communities, but I also think that collaboration is the key for sustainable change worldwide, no matter where you are. So if you run an organization or are part of an organization who advocates against human trafficking and child trafficking, partner with other organizations and affiliates and political leaders in order to put this out there, make people more aware. And once you partner together, there's more resources that we can provide to those who are afflicted by human trafficking.
I agree. Yeah. And, you've made a great assessment in that, because, I wanted to ask Pastor Deborah, I was looking at a statistic that I was actually explaining to evangelists as we were coming. I said, they were saying that only 20% of our responders really are not trained in human trafficking. They're not trained under how to treat a lot of these mental health issues that pertain to, how to treat issues that have to do with sex trafficking and human trafficking issues, And so how do we properly train a lot of these responders that have to collaborate or have to properly have these skills, that have to assess and, have to intervene with our community, members or professionals that actually have these issues, especially if there's language barriers or, issues that have to actually intervene within these, barriers or issues, to do with, our communities. How do we even train these? Because 20%, seriously, 20%.
That's poor. That's a poor number.
20%.
That's almost like saying you have an EMT that's only trained 10% to know what to do if something happens.
I mean, Pastor Deborah, what can we do? I kind of had to leave it to you because you're a trained professional. I mean, what can we do?
All right. One, if you are interested, I went as a pastor and got trained with the police. And it's called crisis intervention training. And it brings in a mental health, drug abuse, and it's all police officers. Because when they get called to a house, domestic violence, they don't know what they have. Right. They go through 40 hours of training here in Escambia. It's a national and an international program to be able to assess and de-escalate. Is this a drug problem? Is a person just on adrenaline? They know what to look for. The police, the ones called to the house.
Right.
Now, what's also slowly happening is some people are teaching the nurses in the emergency room to look. I said on many of those trainings for tattoos. Does the pimp come in? They're training the nurses and the doctors what to look for.
Yeah.
So you have to have steady people that can do this training that also provide for the police, we'll say, continuing education.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have a group here that meets once a month. The law officers, they train the resource officers. It's strictly for the law enforcement, and pastors ride along, and chaplains are a part of that. And it's free, 40 hours of stuff.
Yeah.
Then you get a badge, and you can sit with law enforcement, and you can be a part of them. Then with the nurses, you get somebody who can give the nurses continuing education training. You bring them in. I sat through that, and you get training on what should a nurse, EMT, what should they be looking for? What kind of tats do they need to look? How are they responding? Who are they talking to? Who's talking for them? And be aware of, and then they need the training to know what to do. So you have to have people that are working at those levels monthly, all the time, the nurses, the doctors, that kind of thing, to get them educated. Mm-hmm. The problem is you're dealing with a lot of culture and religion, parenting, generational issues.
Yes.
Nobody wants to talk about or talk to.
Yeah.
I've been in human trafficking training in black churches where a person would come in from DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice, talk to the 10, 11, and 12-year-olds. And the elder women would sit in the back laughing and talking, interrupting, but presence were there to let those children know, don't you receive this knowledge? That's a white person talking to you. Don't pay any attention. Now, my training is I could walk to a child, I could look in the eyes and see them asking for help. A lot of people don't see that, whether they come into a gas station, wherever they're not trained to see the eyes talking. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, as Michelle said, lots of education, training. You have to go through you have to be put in situations where you might have one exposed to you, what do you say? How do you help them? Then they develop something here that you have to have either a barcode or something they can call when they can get free. And if you're dealing in other nations, you're dealing with culture, money, big business. You might as well be trained with drug cartels, the mafia, the Jeffrey Epsteins, the world political leaders. You better be tough. You better be and not have anything. And if anybody threatens you, you have to hold. I've been there. You're dealing with all kinds of powerful people with money. They'll kill you because the lust for sex is a biological, emotional, and spiritual thing. It is so powerful because you get great pleasure. And once you get that release as a John, it's like heroin. It becomes an addiction. Now, in some cultures, the men are afraid of AIDS. So their belief is wherever they get them, if they have sex with a 3-year-old virgin, they won't get it.
Yeah.
Where does that come in? Is that religious? Is that culture? Is that what they were taught by their dads? So you're talking, and then in some countries, the woman is to take care of and finance the whole family. And she ends up in a brothel. She's making money.
Yeah.
Her brother, you have to work, you have to do that. No, doesn't like it, but her job is to be the money winner.
Yeah.
Well, how do you change that? Is that a law?
Yeah.
Is that a culture?
Yeah.
You're getting into deep generational ancestor caste systems. So you have to be, as Michelle said, education in all of those areas.
Yeah.
And when you go into other countries, the culture, the faith, the religion, what are the desires that are driving this?
Yeah.
It's sex.
Yeah, it is.
Orgasm.
Yeah, it
And
is.
people want that. It actually is a heroin. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's because people don't have peace. They want to feel pleasure and good.
Yeah.
Okay? And also they need some dominance and some control. So like I said, in some cultures, you have sex with a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Then there's, as we know through religion, there's child brides. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you're dealing with, are these uneducated people? No, you're dealing with a powerful life thing in us. It's not reproduction. It's sexual pleasure. It's what in Christianity, it's called the lust of the flesh.
Yes.
It can become an addiction.
Yes, it can.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you're dealing with addicts
Right.
because the pleasure that comes from orgasm is so powerful to the body and the emotions. And for a time, they feel loved, and they probably had it done to them when they were children. So you're dealing with generations,
Right.
and you're dealing with laws of the country, and you're dealing with politics. And you see, even in not the Jeffrey Epstein, but in the Hollywood, where they knew what was going on with that elderly man, and nobody talks. But the women wanted movie places, so they're willing to do things, to get a job, to get the. So it's used as a bargaining chip. It's used in culture, in religion, in faith, money. You got big international guns, drug cartels, the M13 people. It's used as dominance. It's used for money. If you ever watch some of the shows on TV about pimps, it's just about making money. The girls are not humans. They're just a commodity to be bought and sold. That's it.
Very true, Pastor Deborah.
Yeah.
Very, very true. And I would love
So
to
you
hear
must
that.
educate and talk about all the topics. And when you get sort of like maybe your expertise is this, somebody else's is this, and somebody else, and you pull it all together, then you can
Right.
talk in all the areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, the Super Bowls, you have billionaires and millionaires coming. It's a top of the line. The hotels make money. So if you stop it, Okay, you might even have governmental chamber of commerce behind it.
Yeah.
They want the money.
Right.
They don't care. It's not their kids. And then remember in that movie Taken?
Yeah.
And when, okay.
Yeah.
Now, human trafficking thinks your father's not going to come get you, but you have to listen behind the scenes. He says, it's nothing personal to you. I don't know your daughter. I got my own. It's business. And the Arab guy has got money. It's business. So there's a disassociate. The guy said, I got kids. Yeah, but this ain't my kids. This is business. So you're dealing with a different mindset. Business-oriented people, sexually-oriented people. We'll just call them addicts for pleasure, dominance. How do you deal with that? Is education a part of it? Yes. They need help and treatment? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a crime? In some countries it is, in others it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the whole thing, the education. Each one of you mentioned that education is needed. We need to start doing education at a young age. And the more educated a child is about certain things, that's going to help too. That's just like our guest we had last week, Miss Christy Sykes did the My Body is My Body program. And I went through the training myself. If we teach kids at a young age, this is right, this is wrong. I know some people don't think their kids understand to a certain level, and that's okay. But you have to meet them where they are. We have to be able to reach kids, a 4-year-old on a 4-year-old level, to help them know in their mind, if somebody touched their private parts, this is not okay. And so we have to come up with things. The My Body is My Body program came up with different songs that you can teach children and adults to make them understand and be aware. Awareness. Education plus awareness is what's going to help. In addition to the mental training, all those other domestic violence training, all those other aspects of it that we need, but it has to start at a young age, at school, at home. So when they go out to some concert and they see some man being overly friendly, I'm a teenager and I got some grown man trying to be friends with me. That's not okay. So we have to make them aware however we can, young, older. We have to put it out there. Yeah. This is one way because we're talking about it, and we hope that everyone that sees it gets something and takes something back and share with someone else. But education and awareness is the number one remedy.
Remedy for sure. And to piggyback off of what both of you guys were saying is that you're right. A lot of people don't see what's going on, but they also choose not to look at the problem. Right. I've spoken to so many individuals where they are nonchalant about these awful things that happen in society. But the thing is they're more prevalent than not. Yeah. And it's so important to educate. So I live in Los Angeles, California. I live in Hollywood. I originally moved to Hollywood, California to pursue an acting career. So just like what Pastor Deborah was saying, yes, in the Hollywood industry, there is a lot going on, right? And you have to stay hush-hush. There are casting couches. I've been asked multiple times to do things that I didn't want to do, and I did not do them. But that happens in Hollywood. So education is key. And here in Los Angeles, there is a woman, her name is Nola Brantley, and she actually educates police officers, health workers, you name it, about human trafficking. She was a survivor herself. Yeah. So the only way to educate is to be that first-hand person. Yeah. Be like, I went through this. This is what happens. These are the tattoos to look for. These are the types of men to look for. Yeah. So I mean, this is a huge, huge problem. But yeah, Nola Brantley teaches CSEC, which is the commercial sexual exploitation of children. Yeah. And we see that worldwide, and you were talking oftentimes about cultural differences. Mm-hmm. I remember going into Ghana and going to a tribe in Ghana, the Timine tribe, I believe it is, and a woman coming up to me and saying, if my husband doesn't beat me, that means he doesn't love me.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Right? So, and then you're talking about female genital mutilation. Well, unfortunately, that is the mindset. I talk to a lot of women in Sierra Leone where they want to get rid of the clitoris so that you don't enjoy sex because of promiscuity, because of trafficking, because they don't want their girls to be a human being.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I also did a virtual summit in Sierra Leone, and they asked me to do it on human trafficking, and because I told them, they said, please, can you just do a virtual summit in Sierra Leone for us, virtually? And they told, the first time that I said, sure, I would love to do it, the pastor's wife told me that a 8-year-old girl was just almost kidnapped off of the streets the night before by 3 men. And the pastor's wife and 3 women had to literally, she says, we're taking over the streets, but it's a fight in Sierra Leone because these men, they are, they're dangerous. They don't care. They do it in the middle of the streets. In the middle of the streets, they will grab these girls. They don't care the age. They don't care. They really just don't. It don't matter the age for them, And I agree with Michelle. They do. They will mutilate themselves because they're done. And she was a pastor. She says, we're trying to take over. And it's the women. They're trying to take over Sierra Leone because they want to fight back. They're just like, we want to fight back. We want to take over. We're done with these little girls being taken from us.
Right.
But
they have to understand that what's being wrongly done doesn't mean mutilate your child to prevent them from going through that. This is where education needs to come in, right? Because that's still not fair to those girls that get mutilated by their mothers because they want to protect them. I understand that. I have a daughter. I wanted to shield her from domestic violence. I didn't want her to go what I went through, and I made sure she knew the signs, what to look for, that she was aware if she felt anything or saw anything that was in any type of way that looked, if I saw her with her male friend and he was playing with her but had his hands around her neck, no, I do not accept that, and you're not going to accept that. So we have to make them aware. As a parent, we always want to protect our children, sons and daughters. I have sons as well, but we need to make sure we're educating them properly. We wouldn't want to mutilate our children from enjoying something that is supposed to be pleasurable for them when they get married and have a mate and want to have kids and all that. We don't want to take that away from them. But at the same time, I understand when they're in a dire place, they want to help their children. And if they can't enjoy it, then maybe they won't be attacked or taken or trafficked. Yeah. So we have to, again, the parents need education as well to understand. Yeah. You don't do some things, even if you think you're helping them, it's going to hurt them down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And FGM is such a hard thing to talk about, especially in different cultures. And I've had firsthand experience. I've gotten into arguments with women who take their young girls and get female genital mutilation done on them. Yes. And, they try to tell me the reasoning behind why it's okay. And they often, even times, Pastor Deborah, use the Bible as an excuse to get it done. Yes. But it is education because you don't know what you don't know. You really don't. And
that's not in the Bible. Let me tell you that. I'm a licensed and ordained minister. That's not in the Bible.
Not at all. Not at all. I kind of wanted to, I'm kind of glad that we went into this whole education thing because moving into a new subject, I know that there's some red flags out there that we kind of have to look for, especially going into COVID-19. Now everything is more on a virtual level. Everybody's kind of like, hey, we have to keep our kids well aware. But, everybody, all our kids are looking into their computers for everything now. But what are some, human trafficking signs specifically that we really need to make sure that we look out for. And I know that there's some common apps that parents really need to make sure that they have to ensure they keep their eyes on, specifically away from traffickers, and watch out for. And if you don't know them, it's okay. If you do, I would love for you guys to share those specifically for our listeners, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of parents don't know. And we want to make sure that they know these things, So I kind of want you guys to reach out, not only for red flags, but also for the apps that could be potentially dangerous, for children, and how this could affect their family. So I don't know if Pastor Deborah or Michelle want to, kind of jump in there.
What I have done on my website is I get people wanting to put like resource pages, and I look them out and I check them. So I actually have some resources about internet safety, internet apps and stuff that somebody's written up. You don't have to do a lot of it yourself. And they put that and they put it out, and they're trying to get through us who have, like me, global websites, added to our resource page so they can look at it and see, because they've done the hard research and they know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not even on Facebook. Okay. And I have to deal with even the perpetrators. So I have to be able to see their lives and talk to them, look at them as drug addicts. They are also having mental health problems. I have to look at it from all sides, mental health, spiritual, everything.
Sure.
Be able to go into every culture. But there are a lot of good companies out there who have internet safety resources, and they'll put apps and tips and things, and that you don't have to come up with it. You just add it to your websites, and you can promote it that way, and you can connect. That's what I do.
So there are a lot of apps out there that a lot of parents are unaware about. I don't know names of a lot of the apps, but if there's an app very similar to a messenger, now I'm not putting Facebook down at all, Instagram, none of that. But if there's an app where you can communicate with another individual, then those are potentially harmful. So this is why it's so important to educate your kids about what is okay for somebody like you were saying, Patricia, what is okay for somebody to say to you.
Sure.
So if there's a grown man who is trying to talk to your 12-year-old daughter, and your 12-year-old daughter is like falling and hiding things in her phone, there are actual apps where you can hide different apps within apps. So those are the things that you need to look for. Those are the things that you need to Google and be more aware of. And then that's how a lot of traffickers get our kids. That's how a lot of kids get trapped in abusive relationships. It's an awful, awful thing. But the thing is human trafficking is like a $300 billion industry.
Yeah.
Right.
It is. It's unbelievable how much money can be made. So definitely look at those apps in order to end that.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important that parents that have young kids or teenage kids that have iPhones, check their phones. A lot of parents, I know some kids that have had an iPhone at the age of 7 or 8. I'm 55 years old and I just got an iPhone. But they have to check behind their kids, because some people just say, oh, they're just using the internet. Well, the internet is worldwide, and that can lead to so many things. My granddaughter was here, and she has an iPhone, and I checked her phone to see if she had any, unknown text messages, or if she's sending any messages like with her name, address, her surroundings, or if anybody's asking those kind of things. I talked to her about it to make sure she understands. Or if somebody says, well, Shania, send me your address, but let's just keep this between me and you. Right. No, there is no secrets between anyone.
Yeah.
We don't keep any secrets.
Yeah.
So if your child is getting something like that, you have to be careful when they. I don't know. Me, I'm a type of parent. I'm going to check if you're in my house. I'm checking it.
Yeah.
I'm checking it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
teenagers,
that's important.
Yeah.
adults,
Exactly.
whatever, I'm going to check it. But for a child and teenager, you have to check what's going on in their phone because they know how to hide some of the apps. They know how to hide some of the apps too.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to. I'm glad that you said that. The reason why I said that is, in Sarasota, Florida, a sheriff's department arrested 25 men that were having sex with children and prompting children over 15 apps in August of 2019. And these apps, just a couple of these apps, just to keep some of our listeners aware, whether you didn't know or you did know. Some of them were like Meet Me, Zooks, Plenty of Fish, Calculator Plus, Moco Space, Zooks, Moco, Instagram, Bumble, Live Me, Ask FM, Grindr, Hola, Babdo, Whisper, Kick, Hot or Not, Snapchat, TikTok, guys, whether you know it or not, WhatsApp, and these are all things, and also Calculator Plus. And with Calculator Plus, guys, you can just hit the Calculator Plus twice, and your child will hide everything from nude pictures all the way to hidden messages. And just to let you know, those 25 men, they were talking back and forth to children from the ages of 7 years old all the way to ages 16. And these men are now being held for, I think, 11 years, 3 months federal prison. And I just wanted to let you know, another man in Tampa, Florida was trafficking a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old, and he is also spending about 11 years in prison. And he was having a sex party at a hotel and sold these girls for $190 an hour. And these were being trafficked over apps. And so I just wanted to let you know that if you are not watching your children because of red flags, that you are not utilizing your potential for watching your children. There are things that you can do by watching your child and utilizing the signs that you know. And there was a symposium that an evangelist did called Knowing Your Worth. And you know that your worth is important as a parent, as a child, as a teenager. It's important to know that you are important, and what you do, whether it's a male, whether it's a female, whether you're an aunt or an uncle, whether you are a grandmother, it doesn't matter. You are important in this world. You motivate. And I kind of wanted to quote you, Michelle, if you don't mind. You said something that it was like 3 tips that was something so miraculous for me. You said, 1, work it while you learn it. You said 2, show it up to blow it up. Take the steps to faith, something positive in faith while it happens. And 3, be persistent. Consistently, always do the work. If you want to succeed, always have it to be consistent. And you know what, everything in life is consistency. It's about being consistent in being able to address the issues of human trafficking, of sex trafficking, of the issues that we have in this world, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be human trafficking, whether it be mental health, like Pastor Deborah does, whether it be podcasting, whether it be whatever the issues are in this world. And I want to give a little bit of space to Michelle because she wants to address something that she does so amazing with Unsilenced Voices. So I know that you do such amazing work, and I want to give you a little bit of space because I know that I know that you do some amazing stuff, but I wanted to ask you a question. I know that you had said something that you were wanting to give to us as to our listeners.
Yes, definitely. So I not only am CEO and founder of Unsilenced Voices, but I speak worldwide about a lot of injustices that happened. But what's the hardest part about dealing with survivors and victims is the reintegration back into society.
Yes.
The mental health, right? Being able to recover from what you've endured. And we teach a 5-step process to help people overcome obstacles and trauma. And that 5-step process, I would love to gift to your audience. Now, this text opt-in only works if you're in the United States. So I'll also give out my email address for Unsilenced Voices as well if you are abroad listening to this broadcast. But if you text the word UNITE, UNITE, to 26786, then you'll get a complimentary PDF of those 5 steps, and it's 6-page. It's an easy document to read. It's infographics, so it's a lot of visuals. But again, it's text UNITE to 26786. And like I said, if you are abroad and if you need assistance of any kind, whether that is you are trapped in an abusive relationship, whether that is you are being trafficked, it helps for recovery, just go ahead and email me. My name is Michelle, Michelle, at unsilencedvoices.org.
And Michelle, we'll be making sure that we put that information on this broadcast, and we will make sure to put that information on the YouTube as well, and that way everyone makes that will get that information as well. So we'll get all of this information not only on the YouTube, we'll make sure to get all this information on MixStation as well, so that everyone will get it. Remember, guys, it's Unite at 26763. Is that correct?
No, 26786.
86. I got it.
26786.
86. So you guys don't forget, it's Unite 26786, and don't forget that you guys can go ahead and get all this information. Michelle is amazing. I also thank you guys. Make sure that you also get into Agape Love Ministries as well. You can go into her Pastor Deborah's website. Go into www.agapeloveishere.org. Is that correct, Pastor Deborah?
Yes, ma'am.
And so go ahead and go in there. She's got an amazing podcast. It's on every single spectrum. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. You can hear her and get all her information as well. She does an amazing YouTube as well, and you can get all her information there. Again, it's www.agapeloveishere.org, and you can hear all her information. She also has a lot of downloads. You can also get all of her lesson plans as well. She's got a good curriculums for learning mental health, learning all her information about domestic violence, about sex, information about sex trafficking, human trafficking, learning about domestic violence, learning about ministry as well, learning things about wonderful ministry, and learning things that will feed your heart and feed your soul, and how you can get into loving others and loving compassionately and empathy. And please go into her website, and also go into Unsilenced Voices and learn a little bit more about what Unsilenced Voices is all about, and their compassion and their empathy, and how they're saving those that are across. I know that you guys have 2 shelters now. I saw that you guys had 2 shelters, one in Ghana and one in Sierra Leone. Is that correct? And then I know that you guys are opening up another one.
So what we do is educational sensitization meetings.
Okay.
We, like I said in the beginning, we believe in collaboration. So we partner with organizations that are led by Ghanaian and Sierra Leonean natives.
Okay.
So we have partnered with an organization called the ARC Foundation in Ghana. So we help supplement the shelter there. So we help with costs. And then Commit and Act Foundation, we are talking about starting a joint shelter together, not only for survivors of domestic violence, but also sex trafficking and sexual
Awesome.
abuse over there as well, which is really great. So we definitely need help. You can donate at a bit.ly link. It's really easy, bit.ly/donate unsilenced voices.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we'll put all that information for you guys. So please go on in there, and we will have all that information on our YouTube, so you guys can go ahead and get all that information there. Make sure that you look all that up, and you will also get all of that information on our pages as well, on Guidance to a Good Heart, and also on our personal page. I'm excited you guys were here. Thank you so much for everything. Evangelist, I miss you.
I know. It's different, but next time it'll be the same.
Thank you guys for being here. Like I always say, guys, thank you for listening to. Don't forget to also go to MixStation, www.mixstation.com. Don't only just listening to our radio station, but also listen to other radio stations at this awesome radio station, MixStation.com. Go here all the time. It's not only on our Heart Radio, but also on Spotify, YouTube, and other radio stations. And come on in, not only to us, but other radio stations. Thank you so much for being here today. And like I always say, you are beautiful, you are lovely, I love you, and thank God that God loves you too. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Michelle
you.
and Pastor Deborah.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you for being here,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you.